Dr. Nalini Bhagwat for the main talk for this event. The subject of the talk is what I requested her was to present a perspective for all of us on the history and evolution of watercolor art in India, and she is going to sort of take us through the journey of how watercolor art has evolved in India, with of course a special focus on the Bombay School. About Dr. Nalini Bhagwat, I think she needs no introduction. She is so well known. A doctorate in art history. She is taught originally from Kolhapur, studied at Delvi's College, and she taught art history at JJ School of Art for more than 25 years. And a very well known and a very popular art teacher. I have been interacting with her for last several years and have invited her for several talks and workshops, and now I'm also requesting her to spend more time on her painting and not just writing. She's also been a prolific writer. So, Dr. Nalini Bhagwat.
Of watercolor and evolution. Actually, the watercolor, you may have seen the book of late artist N.K. Kelkar, and in his book also he has also written a short history of watercolor, because he was very fond of working in watercolor. So watercolor actually started, though it was used, the pigment colors are used in watercolor, and these pigments are in the beginning, in ancient times, they were obtained from the natural sources, and so the use of pigment goes back to ancient Egypt or even Assyria, and even we have seen that in Ajanta and other places, even in China, the pigments were used. But it was not watercolor always. They were using some media like liquid from egg, or sometimes in the Renaissance period from cuttlefish, certain type of ink they got, and that was used. But they were mixing it with some egg material or some other things or some certain glue, and so that we can't say it was a pure watercolor. When we think about watercolor, it is meant that water is the most important factor in using these pigment colors, and especially it was used on paper. Now we have seen that even in miniature paintings, paper was used in Mughal period, or the paints were used, but they were not mixing it with water. Even in India we find tempera painting, but it started in England to use watercolor, and especially in 19th century. And we find that the first painters who used were the British painters, like Robert Cozen, or afterwards Girtin, or even we find that Turner and Constable became more famous. But even before them, the watercolor painters of Britain, they exhibited their paintings in Paris International Exhibition, and there their paintings were so much appreciated and created an impact that after that the British painters became very famous, and even the critics and art lovers, they appreciated so much that after coming from that, later on the number of watercolor painters increased. Actually, how it evolved is also worth seeing. when we see who was actually Gurdin was also a painter who first started using watercolor on white rough paper, and he was the first to keep some certain spaces bare without putting color on it, and no underpainting was there. And so keeping the some area bare without using color on it, and that area was used as highlight. That is the special point about the watercolor, which was advantageous, because you need not use any color or white on that area. So that was appreciated, and he was the first to show the grandeur of nature. Otherwise, landscape was used for the topographical purpose, to show at the background the events. When in Assyria we find that, even in Egypt we find that whenever they tried to show some incident, whether that was in repousse, means relief carving, or whether it was on the wall painting, we find that to show the background, to suggest that at which place that incident happened, that was used in the landscape form. But landscape as a special subject was not treated by them. तुम्हाला मराठी हवा असेल तेव्हा हात वर करा प्लीज, तर मी मराठी सांगेन. तुम्हाला समजतंय का मी? So watercolor and especially landscape became the special subject, but sometimes, like Turner, William Turner used it in a different way. After Gurdin died very early, that is why he could not do much in his career, but afterwards William Turner developed it on the same line, and he also William Turner's oil paintings are very famous, but few students go deep to see William Turner's watercolors. These are also very beautiful and wonderful landscapes which he used for his watercolors. But he used sometimes for his paintings, he used mythological subjects or even some historical incidents, and he painted landscapes suggesting the mood of that particular incident. So it became very symbolical in his paintings also. Turner was the great master, and like Constable also, another painter who also painted, but he painted landscape for its own sake. But he developed the range of watercolors, using it in a different way. Sometimes very boldly he uses that, and he started painting on the spot, and that impressed. In the you may have studied history in painting, and you see that in the period of Romanticism, these painters also were much appreciated. William Turner and Don Constable, and these are supposed to be the painter of Romanticism, because the atmosphere or the mood of nature at different times, which they showed in their paintings, was actually admired, and that is why we see in their paintings typical and beautiful use of watercolor. As when we come to India, after the Britishers established the schools at Madras 1850, then in Calcutta 1854, and that in 1857 at Sir J.J. School of Art. In the beginning, the British principals, British painters came as the deans or principals, and you know that from Sir J.J. School of Art in Bombay, the Bombay painters started developing. They had education in Sir J.J. School of Art, and the first batch, the early batch, was Abalal Rahman, Pestanji Bomanji, or M.V. Dhurandhar. All these painters painted, like even Ravi Verma was for a few years in Bombay, and his paintings of mythological and historical subjects became very popular, and due to his oleographs, these paintings reach up to common people also in their small houses also. The paintings or prints of Ravi Verma were found on the walls. But now I will also show afterwards the slides in which I will show how it developed. But now I am taking a short survey of how it developed. After the first early batches, even Pandit Satavadekar was the J.J. School of Art student, and he also was related to J.J. School of Art. And these early painters like Dhurandhar, Taskar, Agaskar, they created a very dominant influence on the Bombay art world. After that, we find that S.L. Haldankar, who became very famous for his watercolors, S.L. Haldankar, Madhurao Parandekar, then S. Fernandez, all these painters, they specially used watercolors with very delicate washes and handling. Haldankar's painting of Yatrik in 1925 won the gold medal of Bombay Art Society. But their other watercolors, Haldankar's watercolor of the Lady with Lamp, that also became very famous, that is in Mysore Museum. Then Taskar's also paintings of Nasik Ghat or Nasik streets became very famous. Parandekar also used to paint landscapes from Mahabaleshwar or hill stations or even the street scenes. So all these you will find in the collection of J.J. School of Art or even in the museums in India. Even Abalal Rahman, he used to paint on the spot, but the same spot at different times, to note the timings and to create that mood in his painting was the special quality. And Abalal Rahman painted very small paintings of watercolor, but afterwards, instead of remaining in Mumbai, he shifted. He went to Kolhapur, his native place, and there he was honored as the court painter of Chhatrapati